think an enema is some kind of procedure you have to have done if you have like colon cancer or something. I also might be incorrect on that. I don't really know what an enema is, but here we are, far from finished. I'm Josh.
And I'm Daniel. This is Far From Finished, the podcast that you tuned into.
Thanks for tuning in.
If you haven't before, welcome. And if you have before, welcome back. We're glad to have you. It's going to be a pretty awesome topic today, if I do say so myself. And before we get started, I want to say, appreciate the things you have in your life. Don't take anything for granted. Don't rush anything. Don't feel pressured. It's okay to feel certain things. It's okay to feel how you feel. And always do what you feel like is best. And take the time to realize what's best for you.
It's great advice, Daniel. Now start listening to it. Good job.
Hey, we're not talking about me here. We're talking about everybody else. Okay.
I was just fucking with you. All right.
Thank you, Josh. You're too kind of you. Moving on from what I was saying. So, a couple days ago, whenever we were at your house, and it was actually, I don't know, it was probably like 2 in the morning at this time. Yeah. No, it wasn't quite 2 in the morning. I think it was 12:30, more pushing 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
We're on your basketball court, laying down, and we were looking at the sky. No one was looking at the time, but you bet your sweet ass I was, because I was definitely looking. It was lightning in the sky. And I don't know. It was so awesome to me, and in that moment, I thought it was so beautiful just because you don't see that happen a lot, at least over here.
Usually you see lightning whenever it's raining where you're at, but it's not usual for you to be able to like go outside, not feel one drop on your body, and just be able to see a sky full of clouds and a beautiful storm of lightning going through.
And I don't know the science behind that. I know it's some kind of static buildup within the clouds. Yeah, I don't know the science behind it, but what I do know is how awesome it was when I was watching it. And I remember going to work the next day, and I was asking people, did y'all see that? And people were like, yeah, you know, it was whatever. It was whatever, you know, it's kind of cool, I guess. I was just sitting there in my head thinking, man, am I just a dork, or does no one just take the time to appreciate these things that go on?
Like, the answer is both, but that's just normal. I mean, a lot of people take their attention to stupid shit rather than like beautiful things that they don't really pay attention to because they take them for granted. But you're also very much a dork.
Thank you for that. But it's for me, it's the same as seeing a sunset. I feel as though most people don't actually, they see the sunset, they just take pictures or videos of it.
Right.
Oh, look at the sunset, instead of taking the time to sit there for maybe the next 10, 15 minutes. Maybe
not even a picture or video, but just like look at their phone, start tweeting, wow, that sunset's so beautiful. It's like, I'm still setting.
Yeah,
it's still setting.
Yeah, it's still setting at the moment. But what I was gathering from all this is, for me, that those things paint a picture in my head. They almost paint this cinematic thing as I view life. I'm not saying my life is the most cinematic thing in the world. I'm not saying it's most theatric and craziest thing, but I will say each moment to moment, I appreciate each moment. And with that, it becomes a cinematic thing because I take those little moments and I make them into something bigger. And it really, sometimes I'll imagine my life. You ever seen The Office?
Yes.
Whenever, someone says something stupid or something stupid happens, you just see, the character looks at the camera.
Just look to the camera.
Turn the camera.
To break the fourth wall.
Yeah, the serious face, And those moments, that's how I feel so often. I'm just sitting there, and I imagine half the time as though my life is a reality TV show or a show where... Because the thing is, most of those shows are based off of regular life and what we do anyways.
Right, yeah. That's just funny though. Not like the way I see it is like everybody, so there's so many people in the world that obviously like when it comes to certain things there are going to be like certain people that fall into certain categories, but for the most part everybody has their own unique life, like a unique set of things that happens to them in a unique like order of like a timeline of events. So that being the case, everybody should think that their life is kind of like a movie and that they're the star of their own movie, because nobody else can completely say, hey, I lived the exact same life that you lived. You always have a story that you can tell somebody that they never heard before, because it's something that happened to you and you aren't them.
I think in that sense, yes, you should treat your life like a movie, and to a degree, everyone has their own story. But there are shows that are specifically made to make fun of stereotypes, because there are so many people that can fit. And that's the funny part. Like, you could say their life is like a movie just for the fact that that person is such a common person. It's been made into a movie because it is so common of a thing.
Right.
So you could say their life is like a movie.
I would put it this way: it's like everybody is the main character of their own movie, but you also have to remember that there's a lot of movies where the main character gets completely fucked over, like, throughout the movie. So, like, just because you're the main character doesn't mean everything's supposed to be solid and you get a happy ending. I mean, you could be the main character and end up dying at the end of the movie, which, I mean, everybody does in this movie we have. But in, like, a movie, it's like, if you're the main character of your movie, you want it to be like mostly the whole movie good things are happening. Obviously, there's got to be like a climax and like drama in there, like suspense and things like that. But you want mostly good things to happen. You don't want it to be a shitty time. Like, you don't want it to be The Hangover where you're consistently getting shit on the entire time, and then finally at the end you find your friend and fucking everything's gonna be fucking calm. But one of your friend lost a tooth, the other one got fucking knocked out by Mike Tyson, another one just fucking spent the night on the fucking roof of a hotel and fucking got and then. What happened to Bradley Cooper in that movie? There was something else happened.
I don't remember what happened to Bradley Cooper.
It was like everybody got shitted on the whole time, even though they were main characters, and then finally at the end they got it together.
Yeah, that's not everyone's movie's gonna be the best, yeah. But you know, in that case too, not everyone's gonna be doing the most for their movie. You know, not everyone's gonna have this theatric life where you're doing the most. Some people do have routines. You go to a 9-to-5 job, which is why shows like The Office do exist, because those jobs suck.
But that's such a good show because so many people can can compare their lives and relate to such a mundane job, and like wish that their mundane job could be as fucking hilarious as that mundane job.
I mean, in a way, it is if you really put it into if you take the time to really look around and appreciate. You don't have to appreciate it, but appreciate the circumstance. You can. I mean, someone obviously did, because they probably worked that job or they've been around that job.
This is the thing: is a healthy work environment doesn't equal like as good of stories as an unhealthy work environment or even a hostile work environment. You'll have so much more great experiences that you might have never wanted to sign up for, but it'll be something that you learn from. It'll be like, damn, I can't work here that much longer, or I'll turn into these people. And it's always a good time.
I think my favorite, I can always relate this, and I relate life a lot to this comedy sketch. I'm not a big fan of stand-up comedy. Well, I do enjoy watching it because there are a lot of funny people, but one I can consistently watch over and over is Man on Fire, Chris D'Elia, just for the fact that the basis of that entire comedy is the fact that everyone thinks that they're Denzel Washington, Man on Fire.
They're the Man on Fire.
But you're not. The chances are you're probably the guy in the corner seats, you know, watching the comedy show, or you're the comedian. You could be the comedian on stage, or you're probably not that guy. You're the guy in the top row 4, seat 56, watching the stand-up comedy. You're that guy in the movie.
You're an extra.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's that whole basis of that bit is funny as fuck. It's true though. It's like so many people will like act like if they don't do anything, they're still the main character. Like, no, bitch, he's the Man on Fire because he fucking saves everybody. He kills people. He goes out and he does shit. You can't just fucking go out, work your 9-to-5 at McDonald's, come home, have a beer, and be like, I'm still the Man on Fire, bitches.
I mean, there's so many main characters everyone has their own story and everyone's a main character, there's gotta be extras. Then everyone's an extra. Everyone's an extra if everyone's a main character.
Correct.
You know?
It's kind of like being the main character of a Black Mirror episode. It's like, you're not going to appear in another episode. They're still going to make more Black Mirrors. So you're kind of a main character, but aren't you kind of also an extra?
Yeah, at the same time. That's a perfect example. Just think about all the shit you go through when you're the main character in Black Mirror. You don't want to be the main character. You want to be anything. You want to be the person that's witnessing that shit happen.
Yeah, for real.
Like, I have no part of this. Good luck with whatever shit you have going on. And that's how sometimes I see it too, is because
Y'all figure out your own shit. I'm gonna be over here.
for me, I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of times it's fun to, go out and be extra and do your own thing and kind of maybe feel like you're the main character for a little bit. For me, I'd rather be the extra because you're watching all this shit unfold in these people's lives and you're sitting there and thinking, damn, this is some crazy shit going on. That in itself is like a movie to me. I pictured that and I just watch everything unfold. And for me, I'd rather be the person sitting back and being, that's not my life.
This kind of reminds me of like the end of episode 6 of season 3 of Rick and Morty. I think it's like Rest and Relaxation. He's whenever Rick like ties himself back with his toxic self, he's like, "All right, Morty, you're next," and he's already like off on the jetpack, and he's like, "You're a better man than me, Rick. I couldn't do it if I were you." And
I'm healthy enough to admit that.
Yeah, I'm healthy enough to admit that. He said, "You got it. I'll be over here, boss."
But for a lot of us, I think some people do realize that life is like a movie. Our life is similar to a game.
Right.
It is, you have your beginning, you have your middle, you have your climax of all this stuff, the trouble, the problems that come with it, and then, you don't always get to decide your ending because there's so many factors that go into that, and there are people who realize that and make shit happen in their life, or make things happen, or they create things to happen around them. You have regardless of what you say, everyone's individual, but you'll have your key characters. You have the crazy person, the person who's just wild, who goes out on a limb, who's just, you necessarily don't want to spend all your time with them, but it's fun to hang out with them from time to time because things are going to get interesting.
Right.
You'll have your person that's going to keep you grounded. You'll have, not everyone has those people, but to a degree, you'll have people like that. But I think at some point also is if you get too caught up in the fact that life is similar to that, it can be unhealthy,
right,
and dangerous. But it can also be a bad thing if you don't realize that you have the ability to make these things happen. That can also be bad for you as well.
Well, yeah, that's true. But at the same time, you have to, if you don't, I guess, recognize that can be unhealthy. But if you do and you, I guess, use your recognition for the wrong purposes, that can also be unhealthy.
Because think about it. If you're rich and, life is a game. Life is a movie because you could look at Dan Bilzerian. Perfect example. This man himself got rich playing poker and just does whatever. Buys a boat, hangs out with tons of women, says, yeah, come whatever you want, has a private jet. This man buys as many guns as he wants.
Smokes as much weed as he wants. I think he started his own weed company too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not everyone can do that. And it's easy to say, hey, you know what, life's like a game, but at what point is the game a little dangerous for some people adverse to others? When you have people like Donald Trump in the office who are playing dangerous games with people's lives, then at that point, if you're on the opposite end of his game,
right,
it's not too fun now, is it?
That's true. Well, that's what I'm saying is but the thing is neither side of that can understand the other side's position. Because unless you have all that money and all that power, you can't understand what that is. But with having all that money and all that power, especially in Donald Trump's position, because he's been like that, he's had money since he was brought onto this earth, you can't understand the position of the people you're in power of. So how does either one talk to each other? Can they?
They can, but the chances of them doing so are very little. So,
well, the thing is that from the top, you're going to have a more complacent attitude saying, oh, this is how you feel, but I can't care about how just you feel, or even if there's a lot of people that feel the way that you feel. I've got an agenda I've got to push, and that's going to better further my business, and maybe if you're the president, then the business of America. The corporation that is the United States of America, then bettering that business is going to be his agenda, and that's going to be more important than the people on the bottom's agenda. And if you're on the bottom, your agenda is going to be like way less complacent. It's going to be more aggressive. It's going to say, well, you don't fucking understand. I don't want to listen to what you have to say because I don't care about your agenda. Your agenda doesn't help me and my people.
But at what point do we realize that we can make a difference? Because when you put it like this, so any politician, not just Donald Trump, any politician, they go on TV, they say what they have to say, negative or positive, they're gaining traction. Let's be honest here. You could be the most positive person and have the best values, but if you're not in the correct group per se, or you have more of, this is not the best word to use in this instance of this conversation, but I'm gonna go ahead and say clout. If you don't have the most clout,
it's the most spunk.
That's not the word I was looking.
I like that word.
Okay, well, fair enough. If you don't have enough clout, you're not gonna get recognition. So you could be the dumbest person, but guess what? Donald Trump worked his way to the top by saying probably the dumbest things that I personally have ever heard. Okay, cool, you're going to make this country better by making our economy better. But if everything else is worse, why wouldn't that matter? But by him saying those things, he got more attention. So therefore, not only did the smarter people who thought this is a terrible idea see that, there's a lot of people who aren't possibly that smart or have much intellect. And even though there are those people who have intellect, if they have money, they're still going to root for this man because they know when they have money, they're going to be better off. So it's entertainment. We're getting entertained, and we're allowing ourselves through this entertainment to cause something like that to happen because we feed off of that. We feed off of that entertainment that we do get because it's so over the top. It's just like when you watch, it's like watching reality TV at this point. People love reality TV.
Well, that's what's weird is because it's like reality TV seems like it's not real because it's on TV, kind of like just like you can watch reality TV like this is like at the end of the day this is still a production, you know what I mean? So it seems like it's not like actually real until they start paying attention to their community and how things are being run and how people act in power and how people use their business and mindset to affect how money's allocated to how people are helped in this country. All of that shit combines to a lot of bullshit that nobody gives a fuck about, apparently, like as far as the country goes.
I think it's because for the most part it's not real,
right?
Until it's happening to you because you're like when you're watching TV, you can laugh about it all day because it's not real, right?
Right.
But at what point do things become real? Because it's a show.
Right.
People can get on TV, do this, do that. It's all a show. You can go on Twitter, say something serious, make jokes about it because it's just the internet. It's this and that. It's TV,
Right.
But for instance, OJ trials, for a lot of people that was entertainment. For a lot of people it wasn't. At what point does that become real? I'm not saying whether or not he was proven innocent. Do we know he's guilty? No. But what I am saying, we don't know for sure.
Did he not have his own book where he said,
he was proven innocent?
What?
So, can you say he actually killed her if he's proven innocent?
If he acknowledged it and said, I killed her, then yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But the fact is...
in that trial, no. Because he was proven innocent.
And that's a serious
issue. But later
issue.
on, after, I don't want to be quoted on this, but I'm pretty sure in one of his books... I think his book was called I Did It or something like that.
That's terrible.
I want to kind of look that up real quick. Go ahead on your note.
That'd be horrible.
Look that
up. But that's terrible. And the fact is, for all the people involved in that, for the people that cared about OJ's family, friends, people working on the case, for her family, friends, that's a serious issue. But for everyone watching, they're like, "Ooh, this is juicy. What's gonna happen? You know what I mean? It's displayed on TV. It becomes a show at this point."
So, for the record, O.J. Simpson released a book called "I Did It."
Wow.
Confessions of the Killer.
Oh
my. In 2006. It's a publication of a book in which O.J. Simpson told how he hypothetically would have committed the murders of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson in response to public outrage that Simpson stood to profit from these crimes. HarperCollins canceled the book. But, so it was released in 2007?
Released regardless.
The Goldman family views this book as his confession and has worked hard to ensure that the public will read this book and learn the truth. This is the original manuscript approved by O.J. Simpson with additional insight from the Goldman family and other people.
What a guy. He said, I got away with it, so now I don't care. I'm
It's kind of bold, right?
Because you can't be,
you can't try him again.
You
right?
can't try him for the same crime twice.
Right. But that's bold as shit.
Justice.
That's bold as shit, though, right?
It's almost like a show. It's at that point he's getting attention. It's all fun and games.
And now he's on Twitter now and shit like that. You seen that?
Haha! Look at me, I'm OJ. I murdered somebody.
2 people.
At what point does that become real? 2 people. At what point does that become? Oh yeah, because the guy.
It's the guy and his ex-wife.
Oh, that's terrible.
Or girlfriend.
At what point does that become a real thing though? Because for everybody else it's a show, and it's like, wow, OJ did it. He didn't do it, and you can have a say in it or whatever, but it doesn't. For you, it doesn't matter. It's not affecting you. For a lot of people, it was a big deal. For a lot of communities, and for some people, it didn't mean a lot. But for some people, it was just a show, and it was just something displayed on TV, and people were, what's the verdict? Like watching CSI or watching Law and Order. What's gonna happen?
Well, you can think about it just like this: is like, think about if you're Joel Osteen during Hurricane Harvey. Nothing's really happening to you because you're on your millionaire shit. You got everything taken care of. Until you got homeless people that just got their house flooded, knocking on the doors of your church asking you for shelter, and they're not allowed in for a few days.
And then that's gonna start to affect your money.
Which then it starts affecting your name. Joel Osteen's not letting people in his church, even though they lost their house. They're on the streets. Like, shit like that. It's like, okay, well, now I can see how this affects Houston. I care. I give a fuck, type shit. But, that's what I see it as, is, it doesn't really affect you, per se, until shit starts happening. Things start falling into a place where your, I guess, actions of... What's the word I'm looking for? Being an asshole comes back to bite you in your asshole.
I'll take it. Fair enough. I'll take it. And when that comes to play, he has this image that he put on. He created it. He created this whole character for it. It's real life, though.
Right.
It's real life. What he does, he's a preacher, right?
Right.
And that for a lot of people, that's real.
And a lot of people see inspiration in him and see him as a true messenger from God, a true speaker of religious beliefs and things of that nature. And then also you're gonna be on the flip side, you're gonna be an asshole and not give a fuck about human life whenever in time of emergency and need.
And that's what's so crazy to me is, it's such a real thing, but it's a show.
Right.
Putting on you can create a character for yourself. People do it every day when they, you have little skits. Shows that people do, like YouTube. These may be people you get connected to and you feel like it's real, but how real is it? At what point do things become real is, I guess, more so my question, because we live this life, we put on these characters. Every day you walk out of your door, you go to work, you have this person. Some people you could tell are genuine in what they are, but a lot of people go to work, I just want to get through this. I pretend to have fun and I laugh and I hang out with you because it helps me get through the day and get through this job.
The way I think about it is that it's the moment that it becomes real is when life or death becomes involved. The way I think about it is kind of like the Hunger Games. Okay, so everybody's selected from their districts or whatever, and then they go to this place where they put on a show. They walk out in nice dresses and suits, and they put the fans cheer from they bring their kids, they bring their whole family out to this stadium where they put on a whole show, but it doesn't become real for these people out of their districts until they go up that elevator into this Hunger Games world, and all of a sudden you're either dead when you walk out of here or you're the champion and you go back out
Glorious.
You go back down into that little area where the stadium was, and you get trophy and they say congratulations, you're the champion. You go on a tour and everything. You have to go through those theatrics again. That's what you look forward to. So you either die or you go back to some bullshit. And that shit's fucking crazy.
Have you seen Year One?
Yes.
Whenever the sacrifice and everyone's like, yeah, it's can you, he's like talking and he's like, excuse me and my family are trying to enjoy the sacrifice here. It's a big, a big show. They're about to sacrifice a whole person. Everyone's like, yeah. This will be the sacrifice. That's a real situation.
Excuse me and my family. That's just funny.
Someone's up there, well, I guess I'm about to die. But in the case, everyone else is, woo! And that's, I mean, life is a show to a degree. But at what point do we start to, okay, maybe things are getting a little real here. This isn't just something we should push to the side because it's, we see it on TV and it's, oh, the Earth's going to shit. Ta-da!
Yeah.
That's cool.
Or it's like, I forgot whose bit it was. I think it was like Chris Rock's bit about, I might be wrong about whose bit this is, but it was about kind of like how you don't hear the same about a Mexican girl that went missing like you do about a little white girl that went missing. Because the white community, I guess, or the police and everybody, they treat a white life so much more, I guess, like, what's the word, like, powerful, I guess, means more. So, like, they'll say, for months, you'll have people on Twitter talking about, where's Julie? Where's little Julie? Where's little Julie? But little Martina is only going to get, like, 15 minutes on the news, and then it's over with, type shit. That's what the bit was. And, like, that's what's kind of what it is, though, is, like, I guess it's... I kind of lost my train of thought on that point. But fuck.
You were talking about basically how real does it get, and it's a big thing, and it's like this big show. Oh, this girl, but then when it's really serious, it's just because this person's not as big as this person,
right?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I got what you were going.
That's what I was trying to say.
You're definitely. I'm deducting points from you. I don't know what points I'm deducting,
Boom.
But you're getting points deducted for that.
Well, thanks. I'll take it.
All right, that's another thing too. Comedians, when you look at it. We love it because we're laughing, but a lot of them are saying serious things. You almost want to be, damn, that's so true. But you're laughing, so everyone just dismisses it because you're laughing. It's a joke. It's just like when someone's like, I hate my life, ha ha, and then people are like, oh, he's kidding.
Most things are pretty, most things that are funny because they're true most of the time. There's very silly things and very funny things that can never be true, don't get me wrong, but the funniest things are the things that are completely true that nobody pays attention to and that catch you by surprise because you didn't think that they were going to bring that up. It's like, oh shit, that actually applies to me. And then they realize they're laughing about it, it's funny, and then they relate it to something that happened to them or that's currently happening to them, and that it doesn't really depress them. They just find a way to laugh about it.
It makes it lighthearted.
Right.
Makes your struggles a little bit lighthearted.
Right.
But I guess where I'm trying to go with this is the fact when you have little situations similar to that, we make everything seem, put on the show, and in little aspects it is funny or it's not a big deal. Then you got bigger aspects, these assholes putting on a big show and saying, I'm this person, I care about this, and at the same time you're putting people in cages, and at that point that's a life next to you, and that's people's families getting torn apart. That's kids, that's moms, dads, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles. That's your family.
Aren't the
Friends.
people on Twitter talking about prayers and thoughts sent to the families and kids in those cages just as accountable as the people putting them there if nobody's doing anything about it?
That's all for show too. What is your thoughts and prayers? You don't need to say that shit.
Exactly.
Right. Why do you need to say thoughts? If everyone says thoughts for every thought and prayer, we're one step closer to getting these people out of the cage. No.
If you say that it took about 30 seconds for each person to say thoughts and prayers go out to, and you collected all of that time, I guarantee with that amount of time you could figure some shit out.
Exactly. I love the internet, but that's one reason I hate the internet is because majority of it's a show. You can say anything and people, wow, a celebrity goes on there and says, I really care for this. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Well, that's the same.
But what are you doing?
The majority of people will say, well, fuck that. I don't like that, so fuck that. And you'll ask them why, and they have no reasoning. They don't even have, they're like, well, I was just making a joke. And it's like, well, yeah, why? Because you didn't have... Well, if you're going to make a joke, okay, well, you can be completely... Thing is that funny jokes are gonna be like thoughtful things, like there's gonna be like some thought process in it. Like if you have something to say and it's gonna be funny, somebody has to be able to say, well, why do you think that's funny? And you have to be able to say, well, this is why I think it's funny.
I mean,
and if you can't do that, then you're immediately gonna be like, well, I was just making a joke. I don't really know why I said that. Like, fuck you.
I mean, at that point, it's still funny because you're laughing at them. But I mean, that's besides the point.
It's a different type of funny.
It is a different type of. I mean, it's still funny though. You're laughing at. They're funny for being.
Said, hey, you gotta laugh. It's just not for the reason you came here for.
Exactly. The world is. It seems almost as if it is a show. And we treat it that way, which is why we don't get as much done, because we're either expecting somebody else to do it, or we feel as though, it's not as serious as it is. And it can, especially, when you have another one of my favorite comedians, Andy Kaufman, R.I.P. Him and also Eric Andre, two comedians who use the world as their stage. They understand, who they are, they understand how the world is, and they go out there and they do the dumbest things to people for a laugh. And the fact is, they're actually doing these things to people, and those people are getting pissed off.
Some people actually have lighthearted and they laugh along with it. But if you're Seth Rogen and you're getting, like, if you get put a Velcro suit on, he tells you to jump on that Velcro wall, and you just jump on the Velcro wall, and you go straight through it and hurt yourself.
You're probably pissed off.
You're probably going to be not happy or lighthearted. You're going to want to beat somebody's ass.
Exactly. Or whenever you're Amber Rose, and you said ching chong chong ching ching.
She's like, I did not say that.
He said, it says it right here. He said, why would you say something so controversial yet so brave? Using the world as your stage, but at some point you are pissing people off. But he doesn't care, because guess what? He's getting views from me. He's getting views from you. People are laughing.
He's also getting paid, and he's also got like a stand-up career too. It's not like
he has his own show.
Yeah,
on Adult Swim.
But I'm saying that's not all that he has. Is what I'm saying. Like he does his own his own show, comedy show where he uses the world as his stage. He also does that in his regular life. And he has stand-up comedy. He does other shit, too.
He's a voice actor, actually, in that show, Disenchantment. That's on Netflix. And he was in Broad City as well.
And he's about to be one of the voices on the Lion King movie. He's one of the hyenas, I think.
What point exactly?
I think he's one of... No, he's either one of the hyenas or the... what's his name? Not Pumbaa, but the other one.
Timon,
maybe? I think he might play Timon, Pumbaa, or the other dude.
Timon's the muskrat. Pumbaa is going to be the hog.
Who's the other? There's like a third in that little, like...
It
was just them two, but there was also like a third one. I'm saying like they had them two and a third like character, like whenever they were showing like the pictures of who's going to play who.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who the third one was, because he was on that picture. I don't know which one he's going to be, though.
I am not sure on that.
But he's going to be in the movie, though.
Okay, I mean, that's what matters in this situation.
Funny, yeah.
He's doing a lot, yeah. In cases, he did it by being extra dramatic and over the top and creating the show for people, regardless of what anybody else is going to say or do.
He's funny because he's himself. That's kind of like the thing for him, is like he finds humor in his brain. He creates it so other people can view it. And it's all based on just like shit that he came up with.
And most of the time, funny.
Most of the times it's very disrespectful.
I was gonna say at the cost of other people's,
very, very disrespectful and very crude. But hey, at least he's doing his own thing.
I mean, you could also say that.
I mean, I don't necessarily think there's anybody telling him, "Hey, you should do this."
I agree with you, but what I'm also saying is that's a smaller aspect in turn. I love his comedy though, and I love what he does because he's not, it's not the worst.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at it that same way, you have people out there doing sex trafficking and stuff. They're doing their own thing, and they're not. It's not because necessarily all of them are doing it because someone wants them to do it.
But at the end of the day,
and people they get support from people.
It's not like Eric Andre is trying to make the people in the bit that he's doing this stuff to laugh. But at the end of the day, he's doing it for a laugh. So, I mean, he has good intentions in his bad actions. Those people have zero good intentions other than making money. And that's not really a good intention. Because money doesn't really mean anything unless you put meaning into it. But that's another conversation.
Yeah, we'll not go deep.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like sex trafficking, that's going to be an action that's not good for a reason that's not good. Which is to get money so that these girls or guys, I don't know which gender we're talking about here, but are gonna be now a sex slave for somebody else. That's not good whatsoever. It's not like he's trying to bring joy to people's life. I guess he's bringing joy to the person who's buying his life, kind of, but that's not. Fuck that. Fuck that analogy.
It almost makes me think, at some point, should we start making skits and stuff for the serious issues? You know, being dramatic about it. Yeah, here we are, sex trafficking. You know, it's like, ha ha, it's not. And then people are like, that's fucked up. Why would you make a joke about that? And then you'd have to be, yeah, why would I make a joke about that? What are you doing about it? You know, are you making a difference at that point?
It's like,
it's not funny.
It's
you're
like
right.
I'm fucked up because I made a joke about that, or are 17 out of the 50 people here fucked up because they laughed at that joke? Oh, y'all looking at me? I'm the one that said some
or
shit.
Is it? Am I?
Y'all the one that reacted
like,
to
am
it.
I fucked up, or is the actual fucked up situation that this is still an issue and this is still happening?
And then nobody's doing anything about
Yeah,
it.
what's the real?
And the people is like, okay, I see what you're saying. So, am I fucked up, or is the more fucked up thing that you get to say that I'm fucked up while you're doing nothing about it?
Exactly. So, at some point, should we be more dramatic to get the point across? I kind of hate the news too because it's like that, except they don't do a great job of really helping anything out. There was a fire here today, you know. It's like, here we are, and you know they have to put on this persona of who they are, like showing.
That shit
stuff.
must be hard though.
It'd be a lot better. It'd be a little bit more entertaining. You might take it more serious if they're over here. God damn, this shit is fucked
Especially
up.
if you're if you're like at a house fire, you're like, it's fucking hot out here and I'm nowhere near the house. I'm smelling some skin burning. This is a bad fucking situation.
Would it be more
This
real?
is a bad situation. We need to get the fuck out of here.
It might be
It's spreading. Ah!
A little over the top, but I feel like it would.
But for I guess for news control, I mean not control. For news purposes, you have to have kind of like crowd control. If you see I guess, put it this way, if there's a missile coming and it's coming for Houston, what are they going to tell you on the news? Are they supposed to say, you're all going to die, everybody say goodbye, you're dying today, this is the last one?
I think we should be more realistic. I think that's why I like true news, bro.
It
Like,
causes, like, panics, though, and it could cause riots and things like that, though.
okay, you have a fair point on that. You shouldn't just say that. But I think there is a point where you should, which is why I support people who do more of news and broadcasting and journalism on their own, which the internet has given us a great outlet to do. You can go on blogs, you can go on this. People
podcasts.
So people
like that,
do that stuff like that, and I think that's a lot better because sometimes it gives you more of real, and it's more like a show, but that can be better too in ways. I know I've been talking about how it could be bad, but it can be good in ways too, for the simple fact that it may be like a show, but you can do more on that show. You can dramatize things a little bit more. You may put a little bit more emphasis to things, but sometimes that's a little bit more important than, you know, going on there and just being, hey, I'm this person. Because we're both putting on a show, but just in my show is a little bit more of who I am rather than me putting on a show to appeal to everybody and be on some, this is the news, okay, and you're sitting there like, why should I even care? Most people don't even like watching the news now because it's always it's biased, it's stupid, you know, it's not what they want to say. So in that aspect, people are all...
Well, the thing is if you like watching the news, then you have to watch multiple sources of news to actually find the silver lining between, like, you got to put, like, one news outlet against another news outlet in a Venn diagram and find what belongs in the middle, what's alike, what's actually the truth, like, where it becomes their show and where they're actually putting the truth out there. It's like, it's fucking... Whenever I see silver lining, it's like literally finding a diamond in a haystack, and it's not that easy.
Speaking of reality TV earlier, too, have you ever watched Fox News? It's freaking like watching a reality TV. You're watching a bunch of people argue over, and nothing is really getting said at the end. Trying to get a point across, but I feel like
not just
no
Fox
point
News,
is ever getting across.
Fox News, MSNBC, fucking CNN, put them all on the fucking list. They're all fucking wacko.
It reminds me of Atlanta, like news. Watching the
Yes.
news, whenever he's.
I think of that
So are
every
you saying you
single
hate
time
gay
I listen to
people?
this.
So are you saying? All right, have you ever watched BoJack Horseman? Wherever he ate all the Navy, like it's a SEAL, but he's like a Navy SEAL.
Okay.
So he ate all his snacks just because he's hungry. BoJack Horseman hates Navy SEAls. Just on the, it's like it was MSNBC though, like, or for the show. That's what,
right.
And they're talking.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like that shit's funny as fuck. I think about that scene in Atlanta all the time because there's the what's it called? What's the person that's like the anchorman? There's the anchorman of the show who's interviewing the rapper and the LGBTQ person that's there and on the interview. And finally, the LGBTQ person and the rapper get to come to an agreement, and like they're like, yeah, I can agree with that. And this dude's like, just to fill time on the show, he's like, so what you're saying is that you hate women. And he was like, bitch, what the fuck?
Exactly. It's just, I mean, if we're going to put on a show regardless, for whatever purpose that their purpose is to get across and whatever the point is for that station to get across, why can't we do that, but actually to a point where because people are going to react to stupid anyways, whenever you, for instance, president, most of politics is stupid. I mean, yeah, we have our point, we need healthcare, our economy is important, building roads, the city, the community. Politics has its point, but in terms of picking politicians, it's all a show. To say, oh, this person, you don't know that person. Anyone could say, this is what I stand for, I'm a good guy. Wow, I really think that's a good guy because he said that.
Think about it this way. People will ask you, did you go vote? And people will be like, nah, I'm going to. I haven't really seen anything about anybody on the ballot. I don't really know who I'm going to pick, but I'm going to wait to vote till I actually do some research. Never do some research. Let it be the last day for voting. Go in. This name looks good, right? I'll put that person in. And that's how a lot of people treat their voting experience. So therefore, it is a show. It doesn't fucking matter at that any given moment. It matters who you put in office because of their agenda and how they're gonna handle things. But to the average voter, they don't give a fuck. They're just there to say, "Hey, yeah, I voted," and get their little sticker that says "I voted," and they'll say something 2020 and whatever that something is. Then at that point they'll start pushing that on everybody else just because they put that little their name on the paper, said this is my voting sheet and I'm voting for this person. But they never knew anything about that person to begin with. They don't give a fuck about anything that person's gonna do, and they don't give a fuck whether or not that person remains in office later on. At that point, what the fuck are you voting for? Why are you using your vote? Just to use it?
Exactly. Just to make a point, just to say I did this and look at me, look at who I am. You ever see any politician's picture of their family? It's the same picture every time of them and their family.
I personally think that the voting participation numbers would go down if it said who and why. People would be like, oh, I don't know, fuck this, type shit.
Really thinking about it, I can understand why Donald Trump won now. Because in a sea of bullshit where people are he's putting on a show too, but it's more realistic.
First of all,
it seems more real because he's someone that stupid. He's not trying to paint this picture of this beautiful politician. He's painting a picture of, I may be stupid, but at least I'm here. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he's great.
I can see how he got votes. I don't necessarily know the actual determination of how they came in with the Russian votes and all that other shit, and the Russian
how he won,
tampering, and how he really didn't win, but because of certain situations it came down to him winning. I don't necessarily know if he won per se, but to say that he's in office now, I can see how he got votes just for the simple fact that most people don't give a shit. The thing is this is what Joe Rogan said. He's it's letting the coolest kid in school get into a cool guy competition. It's none of these fucking politicians have any personality. None of them know how to talk on a stage. None of them know how to express themselves and be funny and be charming and be likable. This man's a fucking billionaire off of doing that, pretty much. I mean, he got money from his pops and shit like that, and from businesses that were already set up for him. But this man has a show on national television for years, and you think that you put him in with a bunch of people that are awkward and sit tight in their chair and they listen to every word in the group meeting and everything like that. If you put him in a room with them, he's gonna murder them. He's gonna step all over them like he did. He fucking, what was her name? Crook Hillary. He made a fucking hashtag for this bitch, dog. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
And it's exactly what I'm saying. It's understandable that he won because he was. Everyone's putting on a show, but you don't want to see the show that seems fake. You want the one that relates to you, the one that seems more real, and then you can be more so, hey, maybe I can trust this person. They may not be perfect, but they're real.
right.
It's just like when I look for a friend, I know not everyone's going to be perfect, and I might not ask them to be perfect, but I'd rather them be real.
Right.
Because then you're able to trust that person. I'm not saying this is the case. I mean, you could trust him on his word. I'll give you that. You can trust him on his word for sure. But he's a terrible person, so that's not saying much.
Right.
In this instance.
Right.
For the reasons that some people did vote for him, I'll give him. He delivers that. He delivers on his word, and he's true to his word. Like, on the shittier aspects. I mean, he's not, to when he really
I don't
means...
think he kept, like, many of his promises from his campaign, but I do see where you're coming from.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say.
Okay, yeah, I may not be 100%. So you might as well, if you want to get stuff, if you want to bring a bigger idea to the table and you want to bring views to that, you might as well make a dumb video. I don't want to say dumb video. You have to kind of strategically make the video to where it's goofy and maybe it seems as though what you're doing is not for what you're doing it for, because then people will make an outrage and it'll get as many views, and then at that point you can honestly say to them, oh yeah, if there's such a big problem, why don't we do something about it? Here's what we should do, and then write out, this is a way we can do it, and then put something under it, and then people will be like, wow, you know what? And that's actually using the internet for good, because you get so much negative traction gains like that.
So you're saying instead of, like, whenever somebody has a viral video, their comment under that is, since you're here, follow my SoundCloud. Instead of that, they say, like,
you put the organization or whatever that's actually important.
Since you're here, this is how we can change the world.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
But I'm not saying actually go out and do bad things, but make a video that's in mockery of the video.
Of the thing that you're talking
and
about,
wow,
and then say, this is how we can fix it.
That?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And you're saying, how could I do what? Because you put it on a show, but why not use your capabilities and what you know the world's to be? Because that's why a lot of things are getting popular now. That's why advertisements are... You can make money off of advertisements, off of clicks. That's why you can make money off of YouTube, is because people like being entertained. Everything's a show to a degree. It's just what show relates to who more. And people want to feel connected to people.
So, like, whenever you're a kid and you see something and you ask your parents about it, and they're like, nah, that's just a movie. And you're like, okay, well, it's just a movie. It's not real. Until you start growing up and you realize, like, I guess if that's just a movie and that's not real, then why does this life I'm living feel like a movie? Is this movie not real? You know what I mean? Like, how real is it going to be? And that's whenever it starts coming in. It's like where you start to differentiate what... Because the thing is like, whenever you actually go back and look at a lot of movies, there's a lot of, like, valuable lessons that you can be taught in those things.
Always.
Especially, like, even if you want to say, put it this way, it's like, even a movie about monsters being in the closet. Like, there's no monsters in the closet. That's not real. Well, who's to say the closet is in your brain and there's monsters in there that you're not paying attention to? You're telling yourself they're not real. You know what I mean?
So at what point is what exactly?
You
What's real and what's not real?
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, maybe there's not actual monsters in my closet that come out whenever I'm sleeping in the night and open the door and say, "Roar!" But theoretically, to say that that monsters in the closet isn't real is to put it on the movie that what they were trying to say is that the only way that there could be monsters in the closet is in the real sense of, like, an actual closet and an actual your room. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like there's different ways to look at things.
Exactly. And that's why art,
as far as cinematics go,
that's why art's such a big thing in itself as well, is because it's showmanship. Art's
Right.
all about showmanship. Whether it's for somebody or just for yourself, is expressing yourself in the best way that you can express yourself. And what most of the art that pops off is the art that's relatable to other people. The stuff that people can feel, whether it's a movie, a TV show, whether it's paintings, whether it's writing, it doesn't matter. A book.
food.
Food, yeah. If people can feel that or feel something, the smell brings back a memory from when you were. It's the little things. It's just everything in life, and I think if people were to treat it as such each day, I'm not saying treat your life in a movie in the sense of you have to put on a front or you have to put on a show, but more so in the sense of understanding that every little thing is bigger in a sense. You take a look at the sky, you look at the stars at night, you appreciate the people you have, you get those laughs, you find the showmanship, you find the cinematic, the theatrics within your everyday life, and I feel like that makes the things more fulfilling. It's learning how to express yourself, learning how to put on a show, but as yourself,
and
not pretending.
And also learning how to collect those moments of showmanship into what your life is, which is the movie of your life. To collect those moments as scenes in a movie and understand them for what they are. Understand the morals that you learn from each scene. Understand the life experiences you got and how this movie is coming together, where the climax is, where you're at in the movie, how you can improve the movie if you're the director or the producer, you know what I mean? I don't think there's any limitations on that.
I think there's a lot of times people say you're the hero of your own story, or this is the first chapter, write your story. But not enough people say, who are you and who are you planning to be and how are you going to write the story, rather than, okay, it's time to write this story. Right. You go day to day and you're not really writing much, but if you take the time to understand, hey, if this is my story, what are the little things in life? The best thing about a writer is attention to detail.
Well, the hardest thing about, I guess, paying attention to detail, it's like writing your life story down, writing your autobiography at 22 whenever you're going to end up living an 80-year-old life. You know what I mean?
True.
That's kind of what it's like. It's like trying to pay attention to detail in your everyday life is like, it's just as difficult as it is to see what's going to happen in your everyday life tomorrow or the next day or the next day or the next year or the next 2 years or the next 10 years. It's so hard to predict because of all the details that are happening in everyday life. Things that change. If you catch a flat tire tomorrow, that could affect you having a job next week. And if that happens, you could be out of a house the week after. You know what I mean? Things can happen just because you ran over a nail on the side of a street. You know what I mean? It's just like that. There's a butterfly effect as well. Not the butterfly effect. Domino effect. Sorry.
Yeah, that was
domino effect.
Similar.
Sorry.
I mean, butterfly flaps and swings, hurricane.
Right, but that's more of if you change.
Kind of a domino effect.
That's more of a time scale. If you change something like a butterfly's wings.
Yeah.
Right. That's different. Domino effect is where it's at. That's what I was trying to say. It's one thing can lead to another thing happening.
And what I'd like to say, one of the biggest points I'm trying to get across with this is perfection does not exist. No one's perfect. We'll make mistakes. Just like in this podcast, we're not going to know every single thing. We're not scientists. We're not doctors. We're just two people that we have perspectives. We have things we care about. We're passionate about, things we love to do and talk about. And that's what we do. And we may fumble over certain things. We're not here to seem perfect. We're here to seem real. And within your life, with everything being a show and everything being on this, seeming like you're on a stage or everyone's on a stage and they're putting on a performance, so you have to decipher what's real and what's not, what matters to you and what doesn't. And sometimes even if it doesn't seem real, you have to understand that is a real situation, or this is real. And it's hard to do that when so much from growing up from a young person to when you die is a show. It's almost like we're all putting on a show. So with that being said, you have to understand what's real and what's not. And doing so is not always easy. But what I try to get across in this podcast, and I think what we try to get across in this podcast, is that we're not perfect. No one's going to be perfect. And we're not shooting for perfection. We're shooting to be real and give you what's real.
Some people never get the answers they want to hear because they don't ask the questions they need to ask. And that goes to say that just because you're lost in this movie that is your life, just because you don't feel like you're the star of your own show, or just because you don't feel like you're the man on fire, doesn't mean that you aren't the only way to find out the answer to how to become that is to ask questions. May that be you're asking yourself questions on what you can change, or asking the people around you on how you can better yourself in their opinion. Doesn't mean you have to necessarily do what they say, but just hearing opinions from the people that love you or the people that you love is going to always be helpful to your life.
And I think on that, that's kind of a closing note. I think we had said what we had to say, and we really appreciate y'all listening, and to understand that we may not ever be perfect. Not everything we do or say is always going to be as smooth as possible, because we're speaking on how we feel and speaking from the heart and speaking what we believe in.
And on that note, we're going to let you guys have a good rest of your day. Thank you all for listening. Stay tuned. We got more content coming on the way, but we're checking out. This is Josh.
And Daniel.
Far from finished, motherfuckers.